Marcus had always found the remote outposts to be quiet and peaceful. They were the perfect place to escape the noise and distractions of the crowded cities. His days were filled with routine maintenance work, checking the equipment, and sometimes mapping the terrain around him. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a life he had grown used to. Little did he know, this night would be different. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of red and orange, Marcus prepared for another uneventful evening. He was sitting in his small cabin sipping coffee when the ground suddenly trembled beneath his feet. At first he thought it might be some kind of seismic event, but then came the sound. A loud crash followed by the unmistakable hum of engines malfunctioning. Marcus jumped to his feet, his heart racing. The rumbling grew louder, and the noise was soon followed by a bright flash of light. Something had fallen from the sky. Without thinking, Marcus grabbed his jacket and rushed out the door. His boots crunched on the rocky terrain as he ran toward the source of the disturbance, his mind racing with questions. Was it a meteor, a ship, or something else entirely? As he reached the clearing near the forest, he stopped dead in his tracks. There, lying amid a pile of wreckage, was a strange craft. Its design was unlike anything he had ever seen, sleek, smooth, and glowing faintly in the fading light. It didn't look like anything made by human hands. His curiosity piqued. Marcus cautiously approached, his breath coming in short bursts. He had never seen anything like it before. The ship's surface was marked with strange symbols glowing softly, as if reacting to the night air. The wreckage was scattered across the ground, pieces of metal twisted in odd shapes. But what caught Marcus's attention was not the ship itself, it was the figure lying next to it. A woman. No, not just any woman, this was someone completely different. She had long silver hair that shimmered in the dim light, and her skin was an unusual shade of pale blue, almost as if it was glowing in the twilight. Her features were delicate, almost ethereal, and her eyes, when she opened them, were like nothing Marcus had ever seen. They weren't just eyes. They were windows to something beyond human comprehension, with colors shifting and swirling as if reflecting distant stars. Marcus felt a strange pull toward her, a mix of fear and awe. She was lying on the ground, her chest rising and falling, slowly, but her body seemed battered and broken. He hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. Was she injured? Or was she something else? He couldn't tell, but his instincts kicked in. She needed help, and he was the only one around. "Hey," he called out softly, his voice shaking. "Are you all right?" The woman's eyes fluttered open and she gasped as if struggling to breathe. Her gaze fixed on him, and Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine. There was something ancient, something alien in those eyes. Her lips moved, but no sound came out at first. She tried again, her voice weak but clear. "Human." Marcus didn't know what to say. You speak English?" She nodded slightly, her head tilting with curiosity. "Yes. I am Zira." "Zira?" Marcus repeated, kneeling beside her. "What happened? Are you hurt?" I crashed," she whispered, her voice growing faint. "My ship. It failed. I am stranded here." She looked around, her eyes scanning the wreckage with a mix of confusion and fear. "I can't go back." "Back? Where are you from?" Marcus asked, his brow furrowing. He couldn't understand what she meant by "can't go back," but he knew this wasn't a normal crash. She wasn't a regular human. Her eyes met his once again, and for a moment Marcus thought he saw a flicker of something ancient, powerful, and urgent. She seemed to hesitate before speaking again. "My people. They will not accept me unless I complete the ritual," she said softly, the words heavy with meaning. "I need your help." Marcus was taken aback. A ritual? What kind of ritual was she talking about? His mind was racing, trying to make sense of the situation. He had always heard stories about extraterrestrials, but this was something he had never prepared for. A beautiful alien woman stranded on Earth asking for his help. What kind of help could she need? "I don't understand," Marcus said, his voice low. What kind of ritual? Zira's eyes glimmered, and for a moment Marcus saw a flash of desperation in them. I cannot return to my people unless you mark me as yours. By mating. Marcus recoiled slightly, unsure if he had heard her correctly. Mating? What are you talking about? She closed her eyes for a moment, her lips trembling as she struggled to find the right words. It is a bond, a symbol of acceptance. Only then can I go back. Without it, I will be exiled. Her voice dropped, as if the weight of her words was too much to bear. Marcus stood frozen, his mind racing to process what she had just said. A ritual? Mating? He wasn't sure if he believed her, but there was something in her eyes, a plea, a vulnerability, that made him hesitate. Could he really turn his back on her, someone so alien and yet so human in her desperation? I don't know if I can help you with that, Marcus finally said, his voice filled with uncertainty. Zira's gaze softened, and she reached out, her hand trembling as she touched his. Please, you are the only one who can help me. Marcus sat back, still trying to process everything that had happened in the last few minutes. Zira lay before him, her pale blue skin almost glowing in the dim light, and her delicate features seemed out of place on Earth. He had never imagined that his life would take such an unexpected turn. How could he help her? What did she mean by marking her as his? He couldn't understand the strange ritual she spoke of, and yet there was something about her that made him feel as though he couldn't turn away. Zira, sensing his confusion, slowly sat up, her eyes never leaving his. The faint light from her ship cast a soft glow on her, adding an almost ethereal quality to her presence. She winced slightly as she shifted, but despite her pain, she maintained a calm composure. Marcus felt a pang of guilt for not doing more to help her sooner. I know this is confusing, she said, her voice soft but steady. But I need you to understand why this is so important. Marcus nodded slowly, taking a seat beside her. He could feel the weight of her words pressing on him, but he still didn't know what to think. All right, please tell me what this ritual is all about. Zira looked up at the sky for a moment, her expression distant as if recalling something from far away. Where I come from, she began, we believe that life is tied to our bonds with others. We're not like humans, who can live alone, separated from each other. Our lives are shared through connection, through acceptance. But to be accepted by my people, there is a ceremony, a bonding ritual that must be performed. Marcus listened closely, unsure of where this was going, but still intrigued. And this ritual, it involves me? He asked. Zira nodded. Yes. Only a human can complete it. It is a symbol of acceptance, a way for my people to know that I am not an outsider. It is not just a physical act. It is a spiritual one, a bond that marks me as part of the human world. Without it, I can never return. I will be cast out, alone, forever. Marcus felt the weight of her words sink in. She was not just asking for help. She was asking him to become part of her life, to forge a connection that would change everything for both of them. But why a human? He asked, his curiosity getting the best of him. Why not someone from your own kind? Zira's eyes softened, her gaze meeting his as if searching for an answer she had always known but hadn't yet fully explained. Humans are different, she said quietly. You are unique in the galaxy. Your emotions, your resilience, your strength. There is something in you that no other species has. My people have learned that only a human can complete this bond. You possess a kind of energy that is unlike any other. She paused, her voice almost a whisper. Without this bond, I would not be able to survive. I would be exiled to wander, lost and forgotten, never to return to my people. The more she spoke, the more Marcus understood the gravity of the situation. He had no idea why his kind was so special to her people, but he could feel the sincerity in Zira's words. There was no mistaking the urgency in her voice. She needed his help. I don't know if I can do this, Marcus admitted, his voice low. This is a lot to ask. I don't even know if I believe in these kinds of rituals. Zira looked down, her shoulders slumping slightly. I understand. But this is not just about belief, Marcus. This is about survival. If I cannot return to my people, I will be nothing. I will not belong anywhere. The air between them was thick with tension. Marcus felt sympathy for her. He could see the fear in her eyes, the desperation that she was trying to hide behind her calm demeanor. He knew that no matter how hard it was for him to understand, this was a matter of life and death for Zira. I don't want to see you suffer, Marcus said after a long pause. His words were hesitant, unsure, but they came from a place of care. He didn't fully understand her world, but he understood her pain. But I still don't know if I'm the right person to help you. Zira's expression softened, and she reached out gently, her hand trembling as it brushed against his. Marcus, she said softly, I do not ask for this bond lightly. It is not something to be taken for granted. But you must know that this is the only way I can return to my world. Without your help, I will be stranded here alone. Marcus took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of thoughts in his head. He didn't know if he was ready to take on such a responsibility. The idea of helping Zira, of completing such a personal and strange ritual, filled him with doubt. But then as he looked at her, his heart softened. She wasn't just an alien, she was a person in need, and for whatever reason she had come to him. I'll help you, Marcus said finally, his voice steady, though still filled with uncertainty. I don't know how, but I'll help you. We'll figure this out together. Zira's eyes filled with a mixture of relief and gratitude, and for the first time since Marcus had found her, she smiled, a small but genuine smile that warmed his heart. Thank you, she whispered, as the two of them sat together under the starry sky. The weight of their situation still hung in the air. Marcus had agreed to help, but the journey ahead was still unclear. What would happen when the ritual began? Could he really go through with it? And would it be enough to save Zira? Only time would tell. The days following Marcus's decision to help Zira were filled with uncertainty. Every moment, every glance between them seemed to carry a weight, as if something unspoken hung in the air. Zira had settled into Marcus's cabin, and though they spoke often, neither of them knew exactly how to proceed. They were both learning as they went, trying to understand one another's worlds, yet still feeling like strangers. Zira, though quiet, often told stories about her people, about the distant planet she came from. She spoke of her kind's long history, a civilization that once thrived in unity and peace. But now, as Zira explained, their society was different. Something had changed within her people, a growing disconnection that led to a fear of outsiders. The bond ritual was one of the few remaining customs that kept their society together, and without it, Zira would have no place to go. Marcus listened carefully, trying to grasp the depth of what Zira had shared. It was hard for him to imagine a life so far removed from Earth. But he had seen the truth in her eyes, the desperation, the longing to return to a place she could never go without his help. He knew that her need was genuine, and he felt a strange sense of responsibility growing inside him. But with that responsibility came fear of making a mistake, of doing something he wasn't prepared for. Zira was not without her own doubts. She had never asked for help before, never let anyone see the vulnerabilities that she had revealed to Marcus. Yet there was something about him that made her feel safe, something about the way he treated her that eased the anxiety in her chest. Still, she wasn't entirely sure if Marcus truly understood what the bond would mean, what it would change in both of their lives. And the thought of what might happen if it didn't work, that was a terrifying possibility. One evening, as the sky darkened and the stars began to twinkle overhead, Zira and Marcus sat on the small porch of the cabin. A cool breeze rustled, the leaves of the trees around them. The silence between them was peaceful, but the tension lingered. Zira spoke first. Marcus, she said softly, do you truly understand what this means? What I am asking of you? Marcus turned to her, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "I'm not sure I do," he admitted. "I'm still trying to understand everything, but I'm here to help you. I won't leave you stranded." Zira nodded, her expression thoughtful. She knew he meant well, but the weight of what he was about to undertake was far greater than he realized. This wasn't just some simple act, it was a life-changing bond, one that could not be undone. "I don't want you to feel forced," Zira continued. "This bond is intimate. It is not just something physical. It is something that will tie our fates together. You will be part of my life, and I will be part of yours, in a way that no one else can understand. There will be no going back, Marcus." Marcus felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The seriousness of what she was saying was beginning to sink in. The idea of a bond, something permanent, was overwhelming. But looking at Zira, at her soft glowing eyes and the vulnerability she so rarely showed, he realized that he had already started to care for her more than he had expected. "I'm not going to lie," he said, his voice quiet. "I'm scared. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I've never been part of something like this before, but I don't want you to feel alone either. If this is the only way to help you, then I'll do it. But I need to know that you're not asking for this out of desperation. I need to trust you, Zira." Zira took a deep breath and nodded. "I understand your fear. I don't want you to do this out of obligation or because you feel sorry for me. I am not asking you to save me, Marcus. I am asking for a choice, to share something meaningful, something that will be ours together. I can only return to my people if this bond is true. But it must be your choice." The honesty in her words left Marcus silent for a moment. He had never thought of it that way. It wasn't about saving her. It was about making a decision that would change both of their lives. "I choose to help you, Zira," he said after a long pause. "I choose this, because I don't want to see you suffer. I don't want to see you alone." Zira smiled, a small, genuine smile that reached her eyes. It was the first time Marcus had seen her smile so openly. For a moment, the weight of their situation seemed to lift, and the air between them felt lighter, like a decision had been made. "We will do this together," she said softly, her voice filled with quiet strength. "But we must do it with full understanding, Marcus. There can be no hesitation, no doubt. If we are to bond, it must be with all of our hearts." Marcus nodded, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the gravity of her words, but he also felt a strange peace settle within him. This was the right thing to do, and he had made the choice. There would be no going back, but for the first time since meeting Zira, Marcus felt ready for whatever came next. As the stars above them flickered brightly in the night sky, Zira and Marcus sat together in the silence, each one processing what was to come. They were not the same as they had been before. In this moment, they had already begun to change, both aware that the bond they were about to create would be more than just a ritual. It would be the beginning of something neither of them could fully understand yet. The days leading up to the ritual were filled with silence. Marcus and Zira spent their time together, learning more about one another. Marcus found himself becoming more and more drawn to her, not just because of the bond they were about to form, but because of the person she was. Zira's stories of her home planet, her culture, and her people fascinated him. She wasn't just an alien. She was someone with her own hopes, dreams, and fears. And as strange as it sounded, Marcus began to see her as a friend, someone he could trust. Zira, too, found herself growing closer to Marcus. She had never trusted anyone so quickly before. The bond they were about to share was something sacred. To her, something that would change both of their lives forever. But despite her calm and composed exterior, Zira couldn't deny the nervousness that swirled inside her. Was Marcus ready for this? Did he truly understand the depth of what he was agreeing to? One evening, as they sat together by the fire outside the cabin, the topic came up again. Zira looked into the flames, her expression unreadable. "Marcus," she said quietly, "are you sure about this? There is no turning back once we begin. This bond will tie us together in ways neither of us can fully understand." It will change everything. Marcus, who had been staring into the fire, turned to look at her. The warmth of the flames reflected in his eyes, but there was a new clarity in them now. He had thought about what she said countless times over the past few days. He had asked himself if he was ready, if he could truly go through with it. The answer hadn't come easily, but now he knew. "I'm sure," he said, his voice firm. "I've thought about it a lot, and I'm ready. I want to help you, Zira. I know this won't be easy, but I believe it's the right thing to do." Zira studied him for a moment, her gaze intense. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the commitment in his voice. It was the answer she had been hoping for, but even then she couldn't shake the doubt that lingered in her mind. What if it wasn't enough? What if the bond didn't work? "I don't want to hurt you," Zira said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know that this bond is important to me, but I don't want to force you into something you're not ready for. This means everything to me, Marcus. But it will change you too. You may never be the same again." Marcus reached out and placed a hand on hers, a reassuring touch. "I understand," he said gently. "But I'm not afraid. Whatever happens, I'll face it. We'll face it together." Zira nodded slowly, her heart aching with gratitude. She hadn't expected him to be so accepting, so willing to take on the responsibility, but in that moment, she realized that she had made the right choice. Marcus was the one who could help her complete this ritual. And maybe, just maybe, he was the one who could give her the sense of belonging she so desperately needed. The silence stretched between them as they sat there, the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Neither of them spoke, but they didn't need to. The connection between them had already deepened, and the understanding was clear. They were ready. The next day they began preparing for the ritual. Zira explained. The steps to Marcus, her voice steady but laced with a quiet intensity. "We must be in a place where we both feel safe," she told him. "The ritual requires us to be completely open with each other, to let go of all our fears and doubts. It is not just a physical act, it is a spiritual one. We must be vulnerable, fully trusting in one another." Marcus listened closely, his heart beating faster as he realized the gravity of what they were about to do. He had never been one to trust easily, but with Zira, it felt different. There was something about her that made him believe in the possibility of something greater. "Where should we do it?" Marcus asked, his voice low with anticipation. Zira thought for a moment before replying. "There is a place near the edge of the forest, by the river. It's quiet there, peaceful. It's where my people used to perform the bonding rituals." Marcus nodded. "Then that's where we'll go." Later that evening, they made their way to the riverbank, the air cool and crisp. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting a soft orange glow across the water. The setting was serene, the perfect backdrop for what was about to happen. As they reached the spot, Zira stopped and turned to Marcus. "This is it," she said, her voice barely audible. "Are you ready?" Marcus looked at her, his heart pounding in his chest. He was nervous, but there was no turning back now. He had made his decision, and he wasn't going to back down. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady. Zira smiled at him, the warmth in her eyes calming his nerves. "Then let us begin." They stood together, facing each other, the sounds of the river flowing gently behind them. Zira closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. She reached out, her hands resting on Marcus's shoulders, and he did the same. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. The world around them faded, and all that remained was the connection between them. Marcus felt a strange warmth spreading through him, a sense of calm that settled deep in his chest. Zira's touch, her presence, was comforting, as if this was where he was meant to be all along. The bond was beginning to form, and for the first time, Marcus felt at peace with it. As their hands touched, their hearts beat in unison, and the ritual began. The night was calm, with only the gentle sound of the river flowing beside them. Marcus stood beside Zira, his heart beating faster with each passing moment. The air around them felt charged, as if something powerful was about to happen. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him, but there was no turning back now. This was it, the moment they had both been waiting for. Zira turned to face him, her eyes full of quiet strength. "Are you sure about this, Marcus?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a slight tremor in her voice, a sign that even she felt the gravity of the situation. Marcus nodded, his hands trembling slightly. "I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Zira studied him for a moment, her gaze softening. She reached out and placed a hand on his cheek, the cool touch of her skin sending a shiver through him. "Then let us begin," she said, her voice steady but filled with a deep, unspoken emotion. The moment Zira spoke those words, Marcus felt a shift in the air around them. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for them to make the first move. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to calm his racing heart. When he opened them again, Zira was looking at him with such sincerity that it took his breath away. There was no fear in her eyes, only trust, a trust that he would never take for granted. Without a word, Zira stepped closer to him, her body moving with a grace that was almost otherworldly. She placed her hands on his chest, her touch soft, yet firm, as if grounding them both in the moment. Marcus could feel the warmth of her skin through his clothes, and a strange, comforting energy began to spread through him. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced before. The connection between them was not just physical, it was deeper, more profound. Zira closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. "Let go of everything, Marcus," she whispered. "Let go of your fears, let go of your doubts. We are about to form something that will last forever." Marcus swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. Let go. It was easier said than done. But he knew this was the only way to truly help her, to honor the bond they were about to create. Slowly he exhaled, releasing the tension in his body. He focused on Zira, on the warmth of her touch, on the calm in her eyes. As they stood there, the air around them seemed to shift, growing warmer. The soft glow from Zira's skin illuminated the space between them, casting a gentle light on the river's surface. Marcus felt his heartbeat slow, the world around him narrowing until only Zira existed. There was no past, no future, only this moment, this connection. Zira leaned in closer, her breath warm against his ear. "Trust me, Marcus. Trust that this bond will be real. Trust that we are meant to do this together." He nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "I trust you, Zira, with everything." At that moment, Zira's hands moved to the back of his neck, pulling him gently toward her. Their lips met in a kiss that was tender and slow, a gentle merging of two lives, two souls. Marcus felt his body respond to hers, a wave of warmth spreading through him as the bond began to form. It wasn't just a kiss, it was something more, something ancient and primal that connected them on a level he couldn't quite explain. For a brief moment, Marcus felt a rush of emotions, love, fear, longing, and something deeper than all of it. This was a connection unlike any he had ever known, and he realized in that instant that he would never be the same again. Zira was a part of him now, and he was a part of her. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing heavily, their hearts racing in unison. Zira's eyes were filled with something Marcus couldn't quite put into words, a mixture of relief and gratitude. She smiled softly, the expression full of meaning. "We've done it," she said quietly, her voice trembling with emotion. Marcus nodded, his mind still reeling from the intensity of the moment. He had never felt anything like this before, and as the connection between them deepened, he realized that he was no longer just helping Zira. He was becoming a part of her world, and she was becoming a part of his. But even as the bond began to form, there was still an uncertainty in Marcus's heart. Was this really the right thing to do? Could he truly accept this new life that Zira was offering him? As much as he wanted to believe that everything would be okay, there was still a part of him that was afraid. Zira must have sensed his hesitation because she reached out and placed a hand on his chest. Do not doubt this, Marcus. You have chosen this path. You have chosen me, and I will never forget that. Her words, simple but powerful, seemed to calm his fears. For the first time, Marcus understood what she meant. This bond wasn't just about completing a ritual or fulfilling a duty. It was about two souls coming together, trusting each other completely. As the night stretched on, the ritual continued, their connection growing stronger with each passing moment. The world around them faded, and all that remained was the bond they were forming. It was as if time itself had stopped, leaving only the two of them, entwined in a way that no one else could understand. Marcus knew that no matter what happened next, he would never be the same. This bond, this connection with Zira had changed him in ways he couldn't even comprehend yet. But as he looked into her eyes, he knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning, and whatever came next, they would face it together. Theodul. First light of dawn began to peek over the horizon, casting a soft golden glow across the riverbank. Marcus and Zira stood side by side, their hands still touching, the bond they had formed now a part of them. The air felt different, charged, with an energy that neither of them could fully understand, yet both felt deeply. It was as if something had shifted within them, a new connection that neither time nor distance could erase. Marcus glanced over at Zira, her face illuminated by the soft morning light. She looked different, not in the way she appeared physically, but in the way she carried herself. There was a calmness to her now, a quiet strength that seemed to have been awakened by the ritual. Her earlier nervousness had vanished, replaced by something deeper, something more certain. Zira turned to him, sensing his gaze. Her eyes were softer now, filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Marcus," she said quietly. This means more to me than you can understand. I can feel the bond now. I can feel you with me." Marcus nodded, though his mind was still racing. He had agreed to help her, to go through with the ritual, but the reality of what had just happened was beginning to settle in. He could feel something inside him, a shift that wasn't just emotional. It was as though part of him was no longer fully his own. He was tied to Zira now, her world, her people, her journey. And though he felt a deep sense of connection to her, a part of him was still uncertain. What did this all mean for him? What did it mean for their future? "I feel it too," Marcus admitted, his voice still low from the intensity of the ritual. "But I don't know what's next. I don't know how this changes things for either of us." Zira's eyes softened and she took a step closer to him. "I know it's hard to you. Understand right now. But this bond isn't just about us being together in this moment. It's about what comes after, Marcus. It's about our paths being intertwined from now on. You are no longer just a human to me. You are part of my world." Marcus swallowed hard, trying to process her words. He had never imagined anything like this. Never imagined that something so intimate, so spiritual, could come from such a simple act. He had thought the ritual was just a way to help her return to her people. But now it was clear that it was far more than that. It was a permanent change for both of them. Zira seemed to sense his confusion, and she took his hand, squeezing it, gently. "I will help you understand," she said softly. "In time, you will see that this bond is not just a mark on the surface. It's something deeper. We share more than just this physical connection now. We share the future." "But what does that future look like?" Marcus asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. "You said you can return to your people now, but what does that mean for us? Do you go back to your world and I stay here? Or do we go together?" Zira's gaze grew distant as she thought for a moment. "I will return to my people, yes, but not in the way I would have before. Before I was just an outsider. Now I carry a part of you with me. I will never be the same, Marcus, and neither will you." Marcus could feel the weight of her words. She was right. Neither of them would ever be the same. This bond, this ritual had changed something deep inside of him. But what did that mean for his life on Earth? He had never been one to take risks, never been one to step outside of his comfortable world. Now, his world was about to change in ways he couldn't even predict. "I don't know what to do," Marcus confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to help you, Zira. I want to be with you. But I don't know how this fits into my life. How can I just walk away from everything I've known?" Zira's expression softened, and she reached up to gently touch his cheek. "I don't expect you to leave everything behind, Marcus. I only ask that you walk this path with me step by step. You don't have to make a decision right now. I know it's overwhelming." Marcus nodded slowly. The bond between them was undeniable, but the future was still unclear. Could he leave behind the life he knew to join her in a world so far from his own? Would they even be able to make it work? These were questions he didn't have answers to. "I'm not asking you to decide today," Zira continued, sensing his hesitation. "But know this. Whatever happens, I will never forget this moment. I will never forget you. You are with me now, no matter what path we take." Marcus took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of thoughts racing through his mind. He had never been good at making big decisions, never been one to act on impulse. But now, he knew he couldn't turn back. He had made a choice when he helped Zira, and that choice had changed everything. "All right," he said, his voice steady but unsure. "I'll go with you. I'll help you however I can. I'm just not sure where that will take us." Zira smiled, her eyes filled with a quiet sense of relief. "We'll figure it out together," she said softly. "One step at a time." As they stood there by the river's edge, Marcus realized that this was only the beginning. The path ahead was uncertain, and there were no easy answers. But one thing was clear. He had made the right choice. Whatever came next, he would face it with Zira by his side. They would walk this path together, no matter where it led. The future was unknown, but for the first time in a long time, Marcus felt ready to face it. The days after the ritual passed in a blur. Marcus and Zira spent much of their time talking, walking together, and trying to make sense of what had just happened. The bond they had formed was still new, and it filled both of them with a sense of peace, but also uncertainty. Zira had been telling him about her people, their culture, and what had led to her leaving her world in the first place. She spoke of the division that had grown among her kind, of how their society had once been united, but had now become fractured. Zira had been part of the group that sought change, but her radical ideas had led to her being cast out. The bond with a human was meant to symbolize her return to her people, but Marcus had learned it was much more than just a formality. It was a way for Zira to prove herself, to show her people that she was worthy of acceptance once again. Yet now, the question of what to do next loomed large. Zira could return to her people, but Marcus was still torn. The bond had tied them together in a way he had never expected. How could he go back to his life on Earth knowing that he had become a part of her world, a part of something so vast and unfamiliar? One morning, after a quiet breakfast by the fire, Zira turned to Marcus with a serious expression on her face. "Marcus," she said gently, "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about your life here. I don't want to ask you to give up everything for me. That was never my intention. You have your world, your life, and I understand that it's not something you can leave behind so easily." Marcus looked at her, his heart heavy with the weight of her words. "I've been thinking about it too," he admitted, "and I don't want you to think that I regret helping you. I never thought I'd be put in a position like this. I don't know what the right choice is." Zira nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "It's not easy, I know. But you don't have to make this decision all at once. I've told you about my world, about the place I come from. I won't ask you to go there if you're not ready." Marcus felt the pull of her words. He had never imagined his life would take such a turn. But now, everything felt different. Zira wasn't just an alien he had helped. She had become someone he cared about deeply. The bond they shared was more than just a connection. It was the foundation of something new, something that neither of them fully understood. "Then what do we do now?" Marcus asked, his voice quiet but steady. Zira stood up and walked toward the river, her long hair flowing gently in the breeze. "We take a step forward, Marcus. No matter what the next step is, we face it together. We can't let fear hold us back. I may not know what the future holds, but I know that I don't want to face it alone." Marcus watched her for a moment, her silhouette outlined by the soft morning light. There was something about her strength, her determination, that made him feel like anything was possible. Despite the uncertainty, he felt a sense of calm in his chest. He had made a choice, and no matter what happened next, he would stand by it. "Do you think your people will accept me?" Marcus asked after a long pause. "What if they don't?" Zira turned back to him, her face soft but resolute. "It won't be easy," she said quietly. "But I believe that they will. They have to understand that this bond is not just about me. It's about humanity and what you've shown me. Your kindness, your strength, and your willingness to take a risk." Marcus stood up and walked toward her, his thoughts racing. He knew this wasn't just about accepting Zira's world. It was about accepting what she represented, a future that was completely different from anything he had ever known. And as much as it scared him, Marcus realized that he couldn't ignore the pull he felt toward her and the world she had shared with him. "I don't know what's going to happen next, Zira," he said softly. "But I want to try. I don't want to lose what we've built. I don't want to walk away." Zira's eyes lit up, a soft smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Then come with me," she said. "Come with me to my world, and we'll see what happens. You don't have to decide right now, but know this. You're not alone in this anymore, Marcus. You never will be." Marcus stood still for a moment, feeling the weight of her words sink in. The decision was no longer about what he was leaving behind. It was about what he was willing to move toward, and the possibility of something new. He had never believed in fate, but in that moment, with Zira standing before him, he couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, this was meant to be. "I'll go with you, Zira," Marcus said, his voice firm with newfound certainty. "I don't know what your world will be like or what my place will be in it, but I know I can't stand here and wonder what could be. We'll face whatever comes together." Zira smiled, and for the first time, Marcus saw a sense of peace settle over her. It wasn't just relief, it was the beginning of something new. The sun had risen fully now, and its light cast a warm glow across the river. The future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Marcus felt ready to face it. The bond they shared was more than just a ritual. It was the foundation of a future neither of them could fully predict, but one they would build together. And as they stood by the river, hand in hand, Marcus knew that whatever came next, he was ready for it. Together,